Alright, so apparently you're watching this video because you had the same problem as I did. Perhaps you have one of these Denon receivers, and it wasn't cheap either. You spent some money on this Denon receiver. Mine in this video happens to be an AVR-488 receiver. This little guy was picked up secondhand. So I knew what I was getting myself into when I picked it up. But you're probably having an issue where you turn on the receiver, okay, and what happens is it comes on, this little light blinks a couple times, and then it shuts off. That's the exact problem I was having with this one. There are some things out there that I did some research on and tried. One of which is you can hold these two speaker buttons down and power it on, which I don't know if I can do while I'm watching this video or filming this video. But anyway, you hold these two speaker buttons down and you turn the power on, and it does this little reset thing up on the screen. It like clears out the memory. If you do that, it will erase the preferences that you have on your receiver, but I think that's minor compared to getting your receiver going again. So if that doesn't work, holding the power button on, actually I think you turn this off, hold these two in, let me see if I can do it here, powered on, there it goes, and then you'll see that, do it for a couple seconds, let go, alright, and it should reset it to factory settings. Alright, if that doesn't work for you, I have some bad news, but it's some good news. The bad news is it's a pain in the butt to fix it. The good news is it'll cost you about $2, depending on where you get the parts. So here's what you're going to need. You're going to need a little bit of soldering skill. I would say advanced soldering skill, or soldering skill, whichever one you prefer. You're going to need some desoldering braid, available at your friendly neighborhood Radio Shack store. You're also going to need some solder. I used one of these lovely desoldering pumps, also known as a solder sucker. And what it does is you push the pump down, you heat up the solder, and then you push the button, and it sucks the solder off of the place that you're sucking the solder from. Of course, you'll need a soldering iron, and you'll need a Phillips screwdriver, and you're going to remove about this many screws from the machine. Okay. So I'm going to try to do this one-handed, and I'm not going to get too involved. I'm going to actually let you do a little bit of exploratory surgery on this guy, but hey, it'll save you a lot of money doing so. Make sure that the unit is not plugged in and the power is off, and you're going to lift the hood up once you get the screws off. Hopefully I can do this one-handed as I'm holding my iPhone with my other hand. Oh, this is not easy. Hang on. Alright, I'm removing the lid. Here, I'll go back so you can see it. Alright, so the lid lifts straight up just like the hood of a car and lifts straight off. Alright. I'm not going to get into it too deeply, but here are the insides of the unit. The little relay that you hear clicking on and off is located in this area here. You can see it there. Here, let me fix my focus. Alright, there you go. Alright, so the little relay you hear clicking is right there. The problem with this unit is the two transistors, or power regulating transistors, that are on this guy right here, this heatsink right here. Okay, so what you're going to need to do is replace them both. And I don't know which one it actually is. You can kind of see them down in there now. I don't know which one of these power regulating transistors is the bad one, and they're so cheap you might as well just replace them both. Alright, so what is that going to require? It's going to require desoldering this heatsink from the circuit board that you see it mounted to there underneath. Alright, but you're going to need to remove this circuit board here, which plugs into it via two white interface plugs. Alright, do you see them both here? There's one on that side, and there's one back in the back there. So this circuit board pulls straight up, and what's going to get in your way is this little plastic thing right here. And if you just take a pair of pliers and pinch it and push that out, that board becomes released. Also, you're going to need to remove the screws that are on the back of the unit here. There's all these screws here that are around this square, and I would go ahead and remove this screw and this screw as well, because what that's going to do is that's going to let this back panel here come out a little bit and give you a little bit of room to get to a screw that's way down here in the back in that area there. In fact, it was so much trouble getting out, I didn't put it back in after I repaired this one. Once you get that out, you're going to need to desolder everything that's on this guy right here. So there's a pin here, there's a pin there, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right. Now you say, well, which transistors am I going to replace? How do I know which part number they are? Well, the part numbers are actually on the transistors themselves. So if you can take them to an electronics store, electronic supply house, or just Google the numbers that are on them, you will find that they are power regulating transistors. I don't even know if they're actually transistors, but they look like that. The other thing is these particular transistors, the ones that are factory, have a plastic lid on the top, or at least the mount. The mount is plastic, so it's completely isolated from the metal on the heatsink there. So if the new ones you get are not insulated, you will need to get some washers as well as an isolating back strip that goes on the back side of the transistor before you mount it back on there. All right. So here in St. Louis, I went to a place called Gateway Electronics Supply. The guy knew exactly what I needed, and I paid $1 a piece for the replacements. So all the rest that was required of me was some skill and some time to put it all back in. One of the issues I ran into was I put a little bit too much solder on the transistors when I put them back on, and the first time I turned it back on, I blew one of these fuses that you see mounted here. So then I ended up having to replace the fuse. So just make sure that your solder doesn't run into each other. And again, that's going to be part of the skill that's required. All right. If that isn't the issue for you on this receiver, which for me it was, then you're only out $2 and some time. But I found that information online. There was a gentleman who had posted on a blog and said that he had fixed his Denon receiver by replacing one of those, but my particular unit had two, so I just replaced them both. And the magic was, now the unit actually stays on and works like it should. So this unit is made in China. I'm assuming that those power regulating transistors were cheapy and not of good quality, and so they didn't last. So there you go, guys. I wish you the best of luck. Also, on the opposite side of this circuit board, once you take it out and use your solder removing equipment to take the parts off, there are a couple of diodes that are, at least on my unit, that were soldered in there as well. So just take note of where those diodes go, because they go onto one of the terminals of each of those transistors when you take it out. And when you are done, you will have a working receiver again. All right, thank you for watching. Good luck. Don't get yourself electrocuted. Don't have the power cord plugged in with the lid off like I did here. Thank you, and have a great day. Let me know how you do, by the way. Leave some comments. Let me know if this little procedure worked for you. Take care.